Disruptions to food chains and webs. 2.8 Biology. The learning objectives of this topic is to describe the interdependence of organisms and to describe how toxic materials can accumulate in a food web. First, what is interdependence? Interdependence is the way in which living things depend on each other to survive, grow, and reproduce. For example, in this diagram below, the grasshopper needs the grass to eat and to survive. And then next, the snake depends on the grasshopper to eat, and the eagle will eat the snake. What would happen if there was disruption in the food chain? Well, first we need to know the two types of populations. First is the producer population. These are living organisms that make their own food. For example, grass, plants, and trees. If the producers all die or disappear, the consumers, or the consumer population, would all die with them. The consumer population. This population is the population that eats the producer population. For example, the squirrel eats acorns, and that acorn would be considered as a producer population. And then next, the snake will eat the squirrel, and the snake would be the consumer, and the squirrel would be the consumer. And then a fox will eat a snake, which makes the fox a consumer population too. There's a book called Wolf Totem, which is about these people in Mongolia, China, which are basically farmers, and they basically have the same effect of the disruptions. So first what happens is they thought the wolves were killing too much of their sheep, so they kill all the wolves. But then there's no more sheep to kill, so all the sheep, their numbers get too big, and then they eat too much of the grass, and all their grass dies. And that's what caused a lot of problems in that book. What is bioaccumulation? Bioaccumulation is when chemicals or harmful gases get passed around the food web. For example, when there was an oil spill, fish would get contaminated with all the dirty chemicals, and if these fish got sold to humans and the humans ate the fish, they could have get food poisoning or some kind of disease, or they can die. This can also happen through normal wild creatures. Bioaccumulation. Now, bioaccumulation is a process of when chemical gases or liquids get build up over time and kills the animal. For example, when there's an oil spill, fish could get contaminated. One seal needs a lot of fish to eat for one meal. So if one seal would eat, for example, 10 fish that were contaminated. Next, a polar bear will need to eat 5 seals to live. So he eats 5 seals, which have 10 contaminated fish each, which means he basically ate 50 contaminated fish. This is the process of bioaccumulation. Now, this is the picture that was on Kerboodle, which I showed you the example on the last slide, bioaccumulation. Next, the summary. So back to the two learning objectives. We have to describe the interdependence of organisms and describe how toxic materials can accumulate in a food web. So first, bioaccumulation. This is how the toxic materials accumulate in the food web. The process of chemicals building up inside a living creature's body. And next is to show the interdependence of animals, and that is an interdependence is the way in which living things depend on each other to survive, grow, and reproduce. Thank you.